What you're about to hear is the story of a guy who got a text from his girlfriend saying she needed to feel single. Not be single, just feel it. And he replied with 2 words: say no more. Then he removed her from his phone plan, both credit cards, every streaming account, her gym membership, and roadside coverage. All within 1 hour. She wanted the vibe of being single without the bill. He gave her the full package. Buckle up, because what comes next is 12 straight days of a woman discovering that single isn't a feeling. It's a lifestyle with a very specific price tag. And she had absolutely no idea what she was asking for. My girlfriend said, "You're too clingy. I want to feel single again." I said, "No problem." Then I let her feel single by removing her from my phone plan and canceling her credit cards. I'm 26. She's 24. 3 years together, 1 year living together. Her name's Meredith. And last Monday, while I was sitting at my desk eating a sad desk lunch, leftover rice, nothing exciting, I hadn't gone grocery shopping in a week, I got a text that made me put my fork down and just stare at my phone. "Cole, we need to talk. You're suffocating me. I love you, but I need to feel single again. Not be single. Just feel single. You're too clingy and it's making me resent you. I'm staying with Tessa for a while. Don't text me constantly. Give me the freedom I need." I read it 3 times. Feel single. While being in a relationship. The mental gymnastics required to type that sentence, read it back, and still hit send without a single moment of self-reflection. Honestly, that's an athletic achievement. I should have framed it and put it on the wall. Here's what's wild about that word, clingy, though. I texted her maybe twice a day during work. A have a good day in the morning, a dinner plans, around noon. Sometimes I'd forget entirely, and we'd go a full day without texting at all. We'd eat dinner together most nights when our schedules lined up, which is just what people who live together do. That was the full extent of my oppression. Meanwhile, she'd been going out with her friends 3 nights a week, coming home around 3 a.m., and I genuinely never said a word about it. Not once. I never asked who she was with, never made her check in, never gave her any grief about it. She had more freedom in that relationship than most people I know. And look, I want to be fair here. Our relationship wasn't bad. We didn't fight a lot. She was fun to be around when things were good, and I'd been happy with how things were going, or at least I thought I had. In hindsight, there were signs I let slide because I figured they were just phases. The 3 nights out went from 1 night a week to 2 to 3 over about 6 months. She'd started keeping her phone face down on the table more often than not. Nothing I could point to and say, that's definitely something, but stuff that built up quietly in the background. I noticed. I just didn't say anything because I trusted her. That trust was apparently the problem. But apparently my existing in her life was too much. I texted back 2 words. Say no more. Then I got to work. Now, here's the thing about Meredith. She had this habit, and I want to be clear, it wasn't something she was malicious about. At least I don't think it started that way. Of forgetting who actually paid for things. Actually, back up a second. She'd been on my accounts for almost the full 2 years we'd been living together. So this wasn't some small recent thing either. Her phone line was on my family plan. I'd added it because she'd been paying month to month on a terrible prepaid plan when we first moved in together, and it just made sense financially. She had authorized user access on 2 of my credit cards because her credit score was rough when we first got together, and she needed a way to build history. Netflix, Spotify, HBO Max, all under my login, because why pay for separate accounts when we're using the same TV? I'd been covering her gym membership since last spring when she asked me to add it, because she'd started going more regularly, and my account got a discount for adding a second member. I'd put her on my roadside assistance plan when her car started having issues, and she was driving it on the highway regularly. None of that was a problem when I was her boyfriend. I was happy to share those things. But she wanted to feel single. So within 1 hour of that text, I removed her phone line from my plan, effective immediately. Removed her as authorized user on both credit cards. Changed every streaming password, Netflix, Spotify, HBO, all of it. Called the gym and canceled her membership. Removed her from roadside coverage. She wanted to feel single? Cool. Singles pay their own bills. All of them. By themselves. The beautiful thing about the timing is that she was sitting at her desk at work when her phone went dead. No warning, no grace period, no courtesy text. The service just stopped. 1 minute she had a phone. Next minute, she had a very expensive piece of glass that could connect to Wi-Fi and not much else. Pause. For the audio listeners, this is the host jumping in, not the OP, just me. Okay, so she sent that text, and he replied, "Say no more," and then executed what I can only describe as the cleanest, most disciplined response I've ever heard. No argument, no, "Can we talk about this?" No sad 2 a.m. voice memo explaining his feelings. Just action. 1 hour. Every account. Gone. The ambassador of delusion wanted to feel single? Budgets approved. Boyfriend office is permanently closed. She found out mid-shift when her phone turned into an expensive paperweight. That's not petty. That's honoring someone's clearly stated wishes with absolutely terrifying efficiency. Anyway, Tuesday morning she came back. Tuesday morning, Meredith let herself into the apartment with her key while I was getting ready for work. Hair everywhere, makeup from the night before half smeared off, looking like someone who'd had a long, uncomfortable night at Tessa's and had also spent most of it doing the math on what she'd actually just set in motion. I heard the door open and stayed in the bedroom. She came in, looked around like she was checking if I was home, then found me in the mirror when I was partway through tying my tie. "What did you do to my phone?" I didn't look up. "Your phone? I don't have a phone in your name." "You know what I mean. You cut off my service. You lost access to my phone plan." "Yeah. Singles typically have their own phone plans." Her face went from red to something closer to purple. "That's not what I meant, and you know it. You said you wanted to feel single. Single people don't share phone plans with their boyfriends. I'm helping you reach your goal." She told me she needed the phone for work, for emergencies, for basic everyday functioning. I told her there was a Verizon store 2 blocks down that had great individual plans, very helpful staff, and I'd heard the wait times were reasonable most weekday mornings. She stood there for a moment like she was genuinely waiting for me to say, "I'm kidding," and then slowly realized I wasn't. I finished getting dressed, grabbed my jacket and my bag, and left. She tried to buy coffee on her way in. Card declined. She called me from her work phone about 20 minutes later, voice running about 2 octaves above her normal range. I picked up, let her explain what happened, then explained that authorized user access had been revoked. Told her singles have their own credit. She hung up without another word. Tessa, her best friend and current landlord, started texting me not long after that. Said what I was doing was really petty and that Meredith just needed some breathing room. I told Tessa she was getting all the room she wanted, as much as she needed unlimited room. She could have the whole sky if she wanted it. Tessa didn't have a follow-up for that. Wednesday evening, Meredith tried to use the gym membership. Declined at the front desk. She actually had them call me directly from the front desk phone. The employee sounded like they were reading from a hostage note. I confirmed the membership was canceled and told them she was welcome to sign her own account. I could hear Meredith in the background, talking very loudly about financial abuse and how this was illegal. The gym employee had the vocal tone of someone actively reconsidering their career. But Wednesday night is when it got genuinely interesting. Around 11 p.m., she tried to come home. Tessa's roommate was having people over and the apartment was loud, so Meredith wanted her own bed back. Reasonable, except I'd installed a door chain that afternoon. Door swung open maybe 3 inches and stopped. "Cole, let me in. I live here." Lived here. Now I live here. You're staying with Tessa to feel single, remember? I just needed some space, not to be homeless. You're not homeless. You're at Tessa's. Enjoy your single girl sleepover. Your stuff is in the spare room. Just arrange a pickup time. She had a full meltdown in the hallway. Full volume, not holding anything back. Mrs. Patterson from 3B opened her door to check if everything was all right. Meredith immediately tried to explain to her that her crazy boyfriend had locked her out of her own apartment. Mrs. Patterson looked at her very calmly. "Oh, but dear, I thought you moved out. Cole mentioned you needed to be on your own again." The look on Meredith's face right then. I have thought about that moment every day since. Mrs. Patterson just nodded politely and went back inside. Zero drama, absolute devastation. Hold on, still the host, not the OP. I need to formally recognize Mrs. Patterson from 3B because what she did was art. She stepped out, said the most quietly lethal sentence in this entire story with zero agenda, and went back inside. That's not a neighbor. That's an asset. She wasn't even trying. She was just telling the truth. Meanwhile, Meredith, who wrote that text herself, voluntarily went to Tessa's, and then showed up at 11 p.m. expecting the door to swing open, is somehow framing herself as a victim of consequences she personally set in motion. That's not a miscommunication. That's a reading comprehension problem. Anyway, her mom showed up Friday. Thursday was quiet. Too quiet, honestly. I noticed it around midday when I hadn't heard anything from anyone connected to her. No texts, no missed calls, nothing from the friend group. By that point, I knew enough to read the silence as regrouping, not resolution. Friday morning, my landlord called. Meredith had reached out to him crying, claiming I'd illegally evicted her. Here's the thing. She was never on the lease. She moved in with me when we decided to take that step together, but the lease has always been solely in my name. Always, from day one, never changed. My landlord asked what was going on. I explained the situation, showed him the text on my phone, walked him through the timeline. He literally laughed. Said, "So she moved out voluntarily and is now upset that you didn't beg her to come back." Confirmed there was nothing legally actionable on her end, and told me to keep documentation just in case she tried anything further. I'd already started a folder. Friday afternoon, Meredith decided to escalate to a completely different level. She showed up at my workplace, with her mom, Gloria. The two of them were waiting in the lobby when I came down for lunch, already positioned like they'd been rehearsing this. Gloria had her arms crossed. Meredith had her "I've been crying today" face fully assembled. I walked out of the elevator, and they were just there. Gloria opened immediately. "Cole, what is this nonsense? You're acting like a child." I kept my voice completely flat. "Hey, Gloria, I'm just respecting Meredith's wishes." Meredith, doing that thing she does where tears materialize on demand, like she's got them on a timer. "Mom, he's being cruel. He took everything away from me." I didn't take anything. I stopped providing things that were always mine. "Gloria, you're supposed to take care of her. She's your girlfriend." She wanted to feel single. Single people take care of themselves. That's not what she meant. She just needed some space, some less pressure. The pressure of what exactly? Me existing? Paying her bills? Being her boyfriend? She pivoted to how much I texted her. I pulled up the thread from the day before the "feel single" message. Held my phone up so both of them could read the screen. 2 messages. "Have a good day" at 8 a.m. and "dinner at 7 at noon. I asked her to show me where the controlling behavior was on that screen. Gloria stared at the phone for a second and didn't have a direct answer for that. My coworker Roger walked by right then, took one look at the whole setup and went, "Everything good, Cole?" I told him I was just explaining how single people pay their own bills. Roger goes, "Oh right, like adults," and kept walking without slowing down at all. Roger doesn't get paid enough for whatever that moment required from him, but I appreciate it. Gloria started getting louder. Her voice was carrying into the lobby now. I could see the security desk guy starting to stand up. I told them both very calmly to please leave before that got handled for me. Meredith went for one last line right before she turned to go. "If you ever loved me, you wouldn't do this." I looked right at her. "If you ever respected me, you wouldn't need to feel single while I paid for everything." They left. Gloria looked back from the door and told me I'd regret treating her daughter this way. I wouldn't. Wait. Ho's talking. "If you ever loved me, you wouldn't do this." She showed up to this man's workplace with her mother. We're talking full parent-teacher conference energy, except Captain Feel Single is 24 years old and the principal is building security. She played the victim in a lobby she wasn't invited to, flanked by her mom, confronting a guy who texted twice a day and paid her phone bill. Her closing argument was, "If you loved me." Wild. Meanwhile, everything she'd had access to for 2 years was always his. He didn't cut her off. He stopped subsidizing a lifestyle she chose. Anyway, Saturday, her friend group showed up. Saturday morning, I was at the grocery store, probably around 10 a.m., give or take, and I ran into Meredith's whole friend group in the cereal aisle. Tessa, Ashley, and Brooke, all 3 of them together, apparently doing the exact same errand at the exact same time as me. I'd be more surprised if I thought it was actually a coincidence. They tried to stage what I can only describe as a guilt trip intervention in the Lucky Charms section. I grabbed my box and kept moving. Ashley said I was taking it too far and that Meredith was really hurting. Brooke said she wasn't sleeping right, wasn't eating properly, had cried multiple nights in a row. Tessa said she'd had to borrow money from her mom just to get a prepaid phone so she'd have something for work calls. She's single. Singles sometimes struggle. That's part of the deal. They followed me through 2 more aisles, taking turns cycling through different angles on the same argument. She learned her lesson. She didn't mean it the way it came out. She's your girlfriend. She's really suffering, Cole. Then she should have said what she meant. I repeated some version of that line 4 or 5 times as they followed me toward the frozen food section. Eventually, they gave up. I paid for my stuff and left. I genuinely don't think any of them had a response to say what you mean that actually worked, so they just stopped. Sunday night around 10, Meredith showed up at the door again. She'd clearly been out somewhere all day and into the evening. She was wired, off balance, giggling at things that weren't landing as funny, that particular energy that shows up when someone's had a long night that started going sideways around hour 4. She had some guy with her I'd never seen before. He looked like a person who had been told significantly less about what he was walking into than he probably needed to know. She knocked hard. I looked through the peephole. Cole, I want you to meet Nathan. I'm seeing someone new. I upgraded. Nathan has his own business. Nathan carefully from somewhere behind her. I thought you said you were single. I am single, right, Cole? Super single. Good luck to both of you. Nathan. Wait, who are you exactly? Meredith launched into what I can only imagine was a very thorough explanation of her relationship philosophy through a closed door. The feel single but technically together framework. The nuances. The vision. I watched through the peephole. Nathan stood there and listened for about 8 seconds. Then he said very evenly, I'm genuinely not equipped for this, turned around and walked away. Calm exit. She was still mid-sentence when he rounded the corner. Then she lost it. Full volume, screaming about how I'd ruined her date, ruined her life, threatened to call the cops, sue me, make sure everyone knew I was abusive. I told her through the door I had the original text, documentation of her voluntary departure, and building security footage of her showing up erratic with a stranger at 10 p.m. on a Sunday. She actually kicked the door. Solid kick. Hurt her foot. Hobbled down the hallway crying uneven steps. The whole thing. Mrs. Patterson's door cracked open about 2 inches. Meredith, dear, singles usually don't assault their ex's doors. Okay, pause. Host again, not the OP. Nathan deserves a moment because what he did was impressive. This man showed up, processed about 10 seconds of that situation, calmly announced he wasn't equipped for it, and left. Clean exit. No argument, no drama, just a guy who read the room and made a reasonable call. He then tracked our guy down on Instagram just to report, Bro, your ex asked me to add her to my phone plan. We hung out once. She went from I need to feel single to asking a near stranger for phone plan access inside 2 weeks. She wanted a soft landing. She found Nathan. Nathan found the exit. Anyway, Monday, her dad. Monday, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Turned out to be Meredith's dad, Robert. He kept it reasonable, said this was between us kids, but maybe I should consider being the bigger person here. I told him I was being the bigger person. I respected her wishes immediately and without argument. He said that's not what she wanted. I explained what she'd actually wanted, based on her behavior. All the benefits of a shared life with none of the accountability, while calling me clingy for expecting basic girlfriend behavior. I told him I'd decline that arrangement. He texted back 2 words. Fair enough. Even her own dad. Tuesday morning brought the social media phase. Meredith had taken out a payday loan. The interest rates on those things are genuinely brutal. We're talking triple digits annually if you don't pay it off fast. Just to get a new phone, and then immediately got to work posting. She put up a long emotional caption about financial abuse, controlling behavior, and manipulation. Tagged me in it and everything. The post said something along the lines of, she just wanted space to breathe. I'd taken away her ability to survive. And this was what abusers did. They made you dependent on them, and then punished you for having needs. Comments were all over the place. Some people who didn't know us bought it completely. Others who did know us were already typing. Didn't you move out though? I posted her original text. Just the screenshot. No caption, no commentary, no editorial spin. Just the message where she called me clingy, said she needed to feel single, and announced she was staying at Tessa's. Her next post? That's taken out of context. I was expressing needs in a relationship and he weaponized them. Someone commented, "What context makes I need to feel single mean something different?" She deleted both posts within the hour. Wednesday, Gloria called from Meredith's new number. She was on speaker. I could hear the whole family in the background. Gloria announced that after a family discussion, Meredith was willing to come back. I actually laughed, like the sound just came out before I could stop it. Come back to what, exactly? To the relationship. She forgives you for overreacting. She forgives me. Meredith grabbed the phone. I'm giving you one chance to fix this. Take me back, restore my phone and cards, everything, or we're done. We've been done since you moved to Tessa's to feel single. I mean done. As opposed to the living separately while feeling single done. Got it. Yeah. Done it is. She screamed something I couldn't quite make out and hung up. Then Wednesday night, technically early Thursday morning around 2 a.m., she hit a different level entirely. She knew about a spare key I'd kept for years, tucked into the back of the fire extinguisher case in the hallway. She'd seen me grab it once, a long time ago, when I'd locked myself out after a run and didn't have my keys on me. I'd completely forgotten she'd been there for that. She used it to let herself in while I was asleep. I had installed an alarm system earlier that week. She had no idea about that either. It went off the second the door opened. Loud, no warning, full alarm. I was up and on my phone calling 911 from my bedroom, within about 30 seconds, reporting an intruder inside the apartment. She was standing in the living room punching in the old code, the one I'd already changed, trying to shut it down when the cops arrived maybe 4 minutes later. They asked for her ID. Her address of record was Tessa's. Apparently she'd updated it at some point during her stay there, which turned out to be the single clearest piece of documentation possible that she'd established a different residence voluntarily. She tried to explain that she used to live there, that she still had some of her things there, that it was a misunderstanding. The cops looked at her ID, looked at me, and asked me to explain the situation. I showed them the original text, the full documented timeline, the folder I'd been building for 2 weeks. They asked if I wanted to press charges. Meredith went completely still. Cole, don't you dare. I thought about it. I definitely thought about it for a few seconds there. But I told them no charges, as long as she left right now and didn't come back without written permission from me. They walked her out and made the terms clear. Return without permission, and it's a trespassing arrest. She tried to argue the terms with the officers on the way down the hall. They weren't interested in debating it. Final update, that was about 2 weeks ago. Here's where everything landed. Thursday morning after the police visit, I got a call from an HR department at some apartment complex, calling to verify Meredith's employment for a rental application. She was getting her own place. Genuinely good. That's the right call. Tessa texted me not long after to let me know that Meredith was being forced into a studio in a rough part of town and to ask if I was happy about it. I told her Meredith was a single adult making single adult choices and that I genuinely hoped it worked out for her. A mutual friend filled me in on the rest. She'd been going through our entire shared social circle, asking for help with deposits, first month's rent, furniture, whatever she could get, playing the homeless narrative to anyone who'd sit still long enough to hear it, saying I'd made her this way. Most people had already seen the screenshot by then. It wasn't landing the way she needed it to. She made a TikTok about recognizing financial abuse in relationships, used specific language about dependency and control. Didn't go great when someone dropped my screenshot in the comments within the first couple hours. She deleted it before the day was over. The actual costs of single life started hitting her like a checklist she hadn't budgeted for. Phone plan, $95 a month because she got talked into a bunch of add-ons at the store by a salesperson who saw an opportunity. Utilities deposit, $500 up front because she had no credit history as a utility customer, and they don't just take your word for it. Internet, $80 a month. Credit cards declined basically everywhere. And groceries on a budget she genuinely never had to manage on her own. She'd been letting me handle most of that for a year without really tracking it. Her mom, Gloria, called me one final time, said Meredith was really struggling, and asked if I could at least cover the phone bill. Just the phone bill. Just something to make it a little easier. I reminded her that I was the clingy ex-boyfriend. She didn't have much of a follow-up for that. Nathan, the guy from Sunday night, tracked me down on Instagram about a week after the whole door situation. His message was 2 sentences. Bro, your ex asked me to add her to my phone plan. We literally hung out one time. I told him I was sorry he got pulled into it, and that I appreciated him saying something. He sent a thumbs up, and that was the end of that conversation. Last weekend, I ran into Meredith at Target. She was in the ramen aisle, and I don't mean she'd grabbed a couple packets. She had a full supply run's worth of the cheap stuff in her basket. She spotted me from about 20 feet away and made a move toward the end cap display. Didn't work. Our eyes met and she straightened up like she was going to pretend everything was fine. I kept it simple. Hey, how's single life going? She said fine in a way that communicated the complete opposite of fine. Like the word itself had been wrung out and left to dry. Pause of about 4 seconds. Then, I made a mistake. Is that what you want to hear? I don't want to hear anything. You made a choice. Adult choices have adult consequences. She started tearing up right there in the middle of the aisle. Said she missed us. Missed how things were. Missed just being home. I told her there was no us. Hadn't been since she needed to feel single. She asked if we could just talk about it. Just sit down somewhere and actually talk, because she felt like I'd never given her the chance to really explain. I told her singles don't get boyfriend privileges, and that included having a serious conversation about a relationship that had already ended when she sent that text. I walked away. She texted from her new number about an hour later. That was cruel. Blocked. Robert, her dad, ran into me at a gas station a few days after the Target thing. We ended up talking for about 3 minutes while we were both waiting for our cars to fill up. He told me Meredith was going through a rough stretch, but that she was learning something real about what it means to appreciate what you have. Then he paused for a second, shook his head slowly and said, maybe she needed this one. He got in his car and left. Even her own dad. The friend group split the way these things always do. Some people think I went too far and that I should have just talked to her, worked it out, given her another chance. Others are firmly in the play stupid games camp and have been sending me the occasional honestly good for you text. Ashley admitted sometime in the last week that Meredith had actually been quietly texting other guys for weeks before she sent the feel single message, sending DMs, seeing if anyone would bite, testing whether she had options. None of them wanted anything serious with her. So she stayed put and tried a different angle. Tessa, for what it's worth, apparently reached her limit with Meredith inside the first week of having her stay there. I heard that through the mutual friend. No details, but the fact that her closest friend burned out on her that fast says something. On moving day, Meredith put up a social media post asking if anyone could come help carry boxes and get stuff up to her new floor. The response was basically nothing. Even Tessa was busy. Her mom and dad had to rent a U-Haul and handle the whole thing themselves. 2 parents in their mid-50s doing the full move, just the 2 of them. She posted a passive-aggressive Instagram story that evening. Remember who actually shows up for you when things get hard. Most people only care when it's convenient for them. Someone replied in her comments, like when you only wanted your boyfriend for bills but still needed to feel single? Deleted within minutes. Me? I joined a climbing gym with the money I'm not spending anymore. Got into it pretty quickly, actually. Didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I do. And I've been spending more time with someone new. Her name's Clara. She has her own apartment, her own career, her own phone plan she's been paying for by herself since she was 21 and doesn't think twice about it. She heard this entire story from start to finish and laughed and said, who even wants to feel single while they're actually in a relationship? That's just wanting to be single with free benefits and 0 consequences. Exactly. That's exactly what it was. I didn't do anything complicated or dramatic. I just gave Meredith precisely what she asked for. The complete, unsubsidized, single experience, no safety net attached. She wanted to feel what being single actually was. Turns out it feels like a $95 phone bill you weren't prepared for, a ramen aisle run on a Saturday morning, and 2 parents sweating through a rented truck on moving day while none of your friends show up. Do I feel bad? Nah. She built this whole thing herself, choice by choice, and then acted genuinely surprised when it started looking like a place she actually had to live in. She's not in danger. She's not starving. She's just finally experiencing life without a cushion she didn't stop to appreciate the whole time she had it. Maybe she comes out the other side better. Maybe she finds another guy and tries the same move. Either way, genuinely not my problem anymore. Clara and I are taking things slow. But when I'm in something, I'm actually in it. No feeling single. No 1 foot out the door. Just in it. What would you have done if you got that text? Look, I'll be real. He gave this woman every reasonable chance to just be a functional partner. 3 years, 3 nights out a week, 3 a.m. arrivals, not one complaint from him ever. And she responded by texting, "I want all your support with none of the commitment, and you're the problem." He didn't yell, didn't beg, didn't send the midnight paragraph. He said, "Say no more," and meant every word. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. Drop your take in the comments. Did he go too far? Or did she earn every bit of it? If you're not subscribed yet, hit the button. New stories every week.